So one of your colleagues, Jamie Raskin, actually suggested that some members might have been drinking.
I think with Marjorie Taylor Greene, it doesn't require alcohol for her to be unhinged. I'll be perfectly honest.
After her viral confrontation with Marjorie Taylor Greene last week, Democratic Congresswoman and superstar Jasmine Crockett defended her decision to respond in kind to Marjorie Taylor Greene and then burned Marjorie Taylor Greene again, and it was glorious. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, we have several clips to look at in this video, okay? Jasmine Crockett is one of my favorite Democrats. She's a freshman Democratic Congresswoman from Texas, and she, like Maxwell Frost and Jared Moskowitz and Dan Goldman and AOC, they bring the fire to a Democratic Party which desperately needs it, and I love this intensity. I love this energy. For context, I am going to play you a refresher of what happened last week when Marjorie Taylor Greene started insulting Crockett and AOC and how Crockett responded.
Well, you the one talking about,
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority
pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
So as you can tell, Jasmine Crockett is not a woman to take that sort of crap lying down, and I love it. With that in mind, I want to play several clips. I'm going to start with this one here, actually, during her more recent interview with Abby Phillips of CNN. This is what Jasmine Crockett had to say in defense of her response to Greene.
Any regrets about that kind of language, especially given that you were trying to make a point, frankly, about decorum in the hearing room?
I have no regrets. And I'll tell you why. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene is the type of person that if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. And the fact that they continue to allow her to break the rules of decorum over and over and over, whether it's the State of the Union that the president is delivering and she's wearing a MAGA hat or otherwise, the reason that she didn't have committee assignments before was because she did not know how to conduct herself as a member of Congress. And so if I just sit there and say, oh, well, Marjorie said it about me, what's to stop her to continue to do it again and again? And at the end of the day, I was elected as a representative of Congress, but that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be somebody's doormat.
But Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. Are those days basically over?
I don't know that we can even call this a low. I mean, she goes to hell, and then I do my best to remind her as to why she should not cross me.
Again, I've got some more clips to play, but just so much. This alone, as far as I'm concerned, is a perfect defense of Crockett's response to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she actually goes into even more detail in the next clip I'm going to play with Jake Tapper about she was very thoughtful in her approach. But again, I think it's really important to emphasize that the MAGA Republicans who complain about the lack of civility and who whine Marjorie Taylor Greene in that very hearing complained that Democrats insulted Donald Trump. How dare they insult President Trump? Meanwhile, she personally insults President Biden, the current sitting president, all the time. And she's even publicly, repeatedly referred to the Democratic Party as the party of pedophiles. So as I say, they want to impose a double standard on the rest of us. They want to be able to say whatever they want, whenever they want, about whomever they want, but they don't want to have to deal with a fraction of the heat in turn. And Jasmine Crockett is saying, listen, with all due respect to Michelle Obama, that's not going to cut it. We reserve the right to bully bullies, and I love that energy. So I've got a couple of clips again to play from Jasmine Crockett on being interviewed by Jake Tapper, again, where she breaks this down even further.
I think her specifically doing it to me, yes, that was the intent. As has been stated, you know, women wear makeup, we wear lashes, we wear all types of things to beautify ourselves. But MAGA has historically been on social media doing the things where they're saying, oh, she's black with lashes and nails and hair, and so she's ghetto. And so to me, this was her buying into that rhetoric and trying to amplify this for the MAGA crowd. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that she only did it to be racist towards me.
Because it was towards you, or because it was eyelashes? So in that sense, it's kind of like, in your view, buying into a racist trope.
it is buying into a racist trope, but the reality is that women of all colors wear lashes.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking.
Again, great point, because she points out that, what Marjorie Taylor Greene said wasn't just a personal attack, but it indulged a racist trope that's pretty common among MAGA Republicans. And I know some people say, well, listen, that's not fair. She just insulted Representative Crockett's eyelashes. That's not exactly a racist insult. But again, I think I think Jasmine Crockett makes a pretty compelling case that this actually plays into a common trope where you single out black women or people of color who, again, in her words, beautify themselves. So they indulge in hair extensions and fake eyelashes and things like that. But Marjorie Taylor Greene has nothing to say about other people who are not persons of color who do the same thing. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to impute Marjorie Taylor Greene's motivations in this respect, especially because she has a history of anti-Semitism, right? And again, not all MAGA Republicans are racist, but I expect that a lot of racists are MAGA Republicans, right? There tends to be a correlation between these two groups, and it's irrational to pretend otherwise. We've got another clip here from Jasmine Crockett and Jake Tapper.
To be clear, what I asked for was clarification on the ruling. If her words were taken down, that meant that she was going to have to leave the committee for the evening, which actually would have helped everybody out because the source of the chaos is always Marjorie Taylor Greene. But the chairman was concerned about his votes. He was concerned about whether or not he would be able to move forward with contempt. And so therefore,
It's contempt of they were the
of Merrick Garland.
For the Attorney General Garland.
Absolutely. Yeah. So therefore, I'm like, what are we doing? So what are the parameters? And I generally wanted to know. So I did not state anything to her. I specifically asked a question, and I didn't even mention her name. Mm-hmm. And so it was for clarification, and that's what I asked for. And he obviously didn't hear me.
Okay, yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did in a very lawyerly way.
But obviously she started it. I'm not disputing that. But do you regret that at all?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. Because here's the thing. I signed up to be a member of Congress. That didn't mean that I was supposed to walk into a position where I'm going to walk in and be disrespected. It's already a hostile work environment being there, and we do have rules. The problem with MAGA is that MAGA does not respect rules, nor do they respect the law. That is exactly why they're all running up to Trump's trial, because he's in trouble not because of some big conspiracy by the Biden administration. He's in trouble because he fails to respect the law. The reason that the Supreme Court right now is debating whether or not Trump can commit crimes or any president can commit crimes and then be let off is because they have no respect for law. The party of law and order is gone at this point in time.
And again, I love the fact that she points this out. There's so much packed in there. So again, it goes to my point, which is that there is no standard of civility that MAGA Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, and others want to adhere to. Again, they want full license to be able to say whatever they want, whenever they want, about whomever they want, with impunity. They just don't want to have to deal with the people they insult to insult them back or to verbally criticize them. That's it. They're snowflakes, and they should be mocked accordingly. This is why I 100% support Jasmine Crockett's posture here. Like, listen, there's going to be a standard, and if you want civility, then we'll adhere to it, but so must you. And if what you want is an asymmetric civility, we're not going to do that. If you hit me, I'm going to hit you back, right? That is the sort of metaphor here. It's verbal self-defense, and I think that Jasmine Crockett is entitled to it. I think Democrats in general are entitled to do it. That's why I think that President Biden, adopting a much more aggressive rhetorical posture here, insulting Donald Trump regularly by referring to him as a loser, which is reportedly Donald Trump's least favorite word, even though I would argue it describes him better than any other adjective, except perhaps fascist, maybe a fascist loser or loser fascist. I think this is good. I think it helps hype up the base, and I think it tells Republicans, think very carefully about the standard you want to create here, because Democrats are increasingly willing to, at least in some part, meet you on your terms. And it sounds like MAGA Republicans can't handle it. I think it's also great that she points that's the same situation with respect to law and order, right? It's not just in terms of decorum and civility politics. MAGA Republicans don't care for law and order. They don't care for the Constitution. Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they hate the Constitution. They hate this country because they hate Democrats, and Democrats are as much part of this country as Republicans, and they can't stand that. We see it again and again and again. They back the blue, except for officers present at the Capitol on January 6th, and then they want to defund the police, right? They take the position that nobody's above the Constitution except for Donald Trump. We'd like to make him effectively God emperor, who's empowered to stage coups, assassinate political rivals, attempt to overturn free and fair elections with impunity. All of that's fine. Meanwhile, if President Biden or President Obama or anybody else ever claimed those extraordinary prerogatives and immunities, MAGA Republicans would freak out. Donald Trump famously called for the prosecution of Barack Obama, a former president, when Trump was president in 2020. So clearly Trump doesn't believe. Even Trump doesn't really believe that presidents should be afforded absolute lifetime legal immunity. He's just claiming that now because he feels he needs it in order to avoid going to jail for the crimes that he actually committed. He's an unprincipled, hypocritical loser, and that's exactly what we should call MAGA Republicans on this issue and so many others. And I just love that Jasmine Crockett will do that. So, folks, this is where we are. I think it's important that Democrats, again, increasingly adopt this posture. We actually see the influence. I see Jamie Raskin as a great example. He is he's the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. He himself has adopted an increasingly aggressive rhetorical posture, calling out the Republicans for what they are, mocking them, belittling them, condescending them. I think that's good. And Jamie Raskin was a constitutional scholar. He was a constitutional law professor. This is a guy who was, conducted himself with the sort of West Wing, Aaron Sorkin style ethic of just the statesman who is above these things. But he is being energized, rightly so, in my opinion, by AOC and this freshman class of Democrats, which include Crockett. Like, listen, there's nothing to respect about the current iteration of the Republican Party, particularly its elected politicians. They certainly don't treat Democrats or Democratic voters or people in blue cities, blue states, women, marginalized groups, minorities, the disabled, the media. They don't treat any of those people with respect. So why are they obligated to be treated with respect in turn? They're not. Love this energy. Love how unapologetic she is. I would love to interview her. Hopefully that will happen sometime soon. But let me know what you think in the comments.